Vitamin D is being hailed today as the anti-cancer vitamin. Research is showing that vitamin D can stop cancer cells developing and even reverse them. Now, when you consider what we looked at on Monday, the link between cancer and fungus, what does sun do to fungus? Annihilates it, totally annihilates it. Vitamin D is essential for the assimilation of calcium in the body. And calcium's got a nickname. It's called the king, because when calcium gets into the body, all the other minerals piggyback on the back. If you can get calcium in, you can get all the other minerals in. And the gardener knows it. When the gardener increases the calcium in his soil, he increases all the other minerals automatically in the soil. And calcium is essential for the strong bones. And we've got an epidemic in Australia today, another epidemic, it's called osteoporosis, yeah? Osteoporosis in a land of many people on cholesterol-lowering medications, not having sun exposure, not getting vitamin D, not able to get their calcium, the bones are starting to weaken and dentists are making a fortune.
Are you getting enough morning sunlight? You might not think much about it, but the first rays of the day do more than just brighten the sky. Sunlight plays a crucial role in regulating your body's internal clock, boosting energy levels, and even strengthening your immune system. But most people don't realise just how much their health depends on natural light. When you skip morning sun exposure, your body misses out on key. If sunlight triggers vital processes in your body, imagine what happens when you don't get enough. So why is morning sunshine so important? What happens to your body when you don't get it regularly? Stay tuned as we break down the science behind why morning sunlight is necessary. You might never want to start your day in the dark again. As a thank you for joining me today, we're giving away 100 free copies of my best-selling book to subscribers. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, like this video, and comment why you want to win.
The ultraviolet rays from the sun, particularly UVB rays. The ultraviolet rays from the sun, they hit the skin and they cause a form of cholesterol. Did everyone hear that? Cholesterol just under the skin. And they convert the cholesterol to vitamin D. And vitamin D is essential. Vitamin D is essential for the assimilation of calcium. Calcium's called the king. And because it's called the king, it's been misunderstood. So what does it mean when calcium is called the king? Well, calcium gets into the body. When it gets into the cell, all the other minerals piggyback on the back of calcium. That's why it's called the king. But the worst thing you can do for your body is take calcium supplements, because bones aren't made of calcium. Is that a surprise? Bones are not made of calcium. And we have a situation today where bones are breaking down. Dentists are making a fortune. You see, that's the only exposed bone out of teeth that are breaking down. Osteoporosis, the breaking down of bones, the brittle of bones. Do you know God never meant bones to deteriorate like they do? Bones are not made of calcium. They're made of 12 minerals and 64 trace. So let's look at those 12 minerals. Yes, calcium and chromium and boron and iron, magnesium, manganese, selenium, silica, sulfur, potassium, phosphorus, and zinc. That's what bones are made of, and 64 trace minerals. So it's not rocket science. What does our bones need, ladies? Minerals. So where do we get minerals in that amount? in that proportion, in that balance. Dr. Robert Thompson, in his book The Calcium Lie, He claims that the clearest indicator of a creator God is seawater, because seawater has all of these minerals in the exact balance and proportion as is found in the human body. Did you know in the war, the Navy, if a man needed a blood transfusion, they would transfuse him with seawater, because the body can convert it very quickly into blood. So all the body tissues, the bones, everything in our body swims in a fluid, and it's seawater. Dr. Jacques de Langry, a French doctor, he called our internal fluids our internal ocean. But this also includes our bones. The good news is you don't have to drink seawater. You can take a crystal of the Celtic salt, Baja salt, Celtic salt. They both have 82 minerals. You see, seawater contains 92 minerals, whereas the Celtic salt, or the Baja salt, the Celtic salt is from, it's hand-harvested sea salt from a pristine area on the coast of France, Brittany. In fact, it's about 4 million acres, and the French government have said that it's a heritage zone, so it cannot be contaminated. And it's a hand-harvested sea salt. That's the Celtic salt, and the Baja salt is from another pristine area, there are still a few on the planet, on the Mexican coast.
These natural salts provide the minerals your body needs to maintain strong bones, healthy tissues, and overall well-being. Unlike refined table salt, which is stripped of its minerals and often contains additives, Celtic salt and Baja salt retain their full mineral spectrum. When you consume these salts in moderation, you support your body's internal balance, ensuring that the minerals are available for essential functions like bone regeneration, nerve signaling, and muscle contractions. Sunlight does more than just help the body produce vitamin D. It plays a crucial role in overall health and well-being. Exposure to natural sunlight helps regulate the body's circadian rhythm, which is essential for maintaining a healthy sleep cycle. When sunlight enters the eyes, it signals the brain to produce serotonin, a hormone that improves mood, focus, and energy levels. Later in the evening, as the sun sets, serotonin converts into melatonin, which helps regulate sleep. This natural cycle is disrupted when people spend too much time indoors or rely on artificial lighting. Sunlight is also beneficial for the immune system. Studies have shown that exposure to sunlight enhances the function of white blood cells, which are essential for fighting infections. People who get regular sunlight tend to have stronger immune responses and recover more quickly from illnesses. Additionally, sunlight has antimicrobial properties, meaning it can help reduce the risk of bacterial and viral infections. Another benefit of sunlight is its effect on mental health. Seasonal affective disorder, SAD, is a condition where people experience depression during the winter months due to a lack of sunlight. Light therapy, which mimics natural sunlight, is often used as a treatment for this condition. This highlights the importance of getting outside, even for a few minutes each day, to soak in natural light and boost mental well-being.
Bones deteriorate are people not getting enough sun. How much sun do we need? Well, how long's a piece of string? It can be 1 inch long, or it can be 10 yards long. It depends on you. It depends on your skin colour. If you have dark skin, you need about 10 times the sun that I need. And by the way, you can endure 10 times the sun that I can. That's where you're the doctor. So when I was in Bali a couple of years ago, Michael and I had a holiday. I went down by the pool every day to lay in the sun and get a tan. And I didn't have sunscreen, I had my watch. 15 minutes front, 15 minutes back, under the umbrella. Because I knew that if I laid out for half an hour, my skin would burn. And if my skin burns, I've now damaged the skin. And now I can't go back into the sun for the rest of my holidays. Have you seen the ingredients in the sunscreen? Is this? And our skin is millions of little mouths. I don't want any more chemicals to go into my body than I choose not to put them in, but we are exposed in some ways that we don't choose to be. By the end of the week, I had a nice tan, and now I can endure half an hour's sun because I have a tan. I have blue eyes, and I have what they call milky skin. So I have to go little by little by little. There's a bit of common sense there. The research is showing that 6 to 10 sunburns in your lifetime can double your risk of skin cancer. People have been living under the sun for thousands of years. It's only in the last 80 years that skin cancer has really risen. And I was interested, there's a book by a man, his surname is Wishart. And he's written some really good books on vitamin D. And he gives one study on Norwegians, and they found that the skin cancer rates had increased by something like 200%, which is phenomenal. And what they traced it to, it was somewhere between the mid-90s and the early 2000s. And what they found, there were two factors that were contributing to this. One was the Norwegians are spending more time inside and less time outside. So vitamin D deficiency was contributing to their skin cancer. And number two, when they do go outside, they believe what the media says and they cover themselves with sunscreen. So what they are finding, that sunscreen is actually contributing to the vitamin D deficiency that we're seeing, and also contributing to skin cancer. So good amounts of vitamin D deficiency can actually protect you from skin cancer. There are 2,500 receptor sites on the DNA to vitamin D. We cannot function effectively without vitamin D. We cannot heal without vitamin D. Vitamin D is essential, and where do we get it? We get it from the sun. But we get it from the UVB rays. If the window's closed and you're sitting in the sun, you're not getting UVB. It's the UVA rays that come through, and they can actually burn quite quickly, the UVA. When you put sunscreen on, it blocks UVB. So we need to have our skin exposed to the sunshine. So the ultraviolet rays from the sun hit the skin, and they convert a form of cholesterol just under the skin to vitamin D. And it takes about 2 hours to develop that vitamin D. So if you lay out in the sun and then go and have a shower and wash yourself with soap and wash away all your oils, you're not going to get your vitamin D. It needs 2 hours. But if you're lying in the sun and you get hot and you dive in the pool or in the sea, you won't wash your vitamin D away.
This is why it's important to be mindful of how we get our sun exposure. A gradual approach is best, starting with short periods and building up tolerance over time. This allows the body to produce vitamin D without causing damage to the skin. Interestingly, studies have shown that people who work outdoors, such as farmers and construction workers, have lower rates of melanoma compared to office workers who spend most of their time indoors. This suggests that regular, moderate sun exposure might actually be protective, while intermittent, intense exposure, such as suddenly spending all day at the beach after months indoors, can be harmful. Another factor to consider is diet. Consuming foods rich in antioxidants like fruits and vegetables can help protect the skin from sun damage. Omega-3 fatty acids found in fish and flax seeds have also been shown to reduce inflammation and improve the skin's ability to handle UV exposure. In contrast, diets high in processed foods and unhealthy fats may increase the risk of skin damage and even skin cancer. Hydration is also key. Well-hydrated skin is more resilient and less prone to damage. Drinking plenty of water and eating water-rich foods such as cucumbers and watermelon can help maintain skin health.
I have a book at home called The Healing Power of Sun, and it's got a picture of 3 little girls. And this picture, forgive my drawing skills, they're not great, and these 3 little girls was an interesting comparison because 2 had rickets and one legs were like this. The girl without rickets, her legs were like that, and the other little girl, her legs were like this. And these little girls couldn't even stand up straight. Rickets is returning. But you know, children suffered from rickets for about 100 years before finally it was acknowledged that it was a vitamin D deficiency. And in the 1890s, a doctor wrote an article where he claimed it was a vitamin D deficiency because the gypsy children didn't have rickets. Now, where are the gypsy children? They're not in the streets of London between those high rises where they're not getting their sun. They're running out in the hills. I'd like to add they're also running barefoot and they're also probably eating nourishing food. It wasn't until 1920 it was finally acknowledged that rickets was a vitamin D deficiency. Medicine has cured 3 diseases: rickets, beriberi and pellagra. What are those 3? They're just deficiency diseases. That's all they are. And they came about when people started refining food. And again, not spending as much time in the sunshine. This is what bones need. So when they finally acknowledged that rickets was a vitamin D deficiency, nurses would give mothers classes showing them how to put their babies and their children in the sun. Do they still have those classes? No. What are mothers told today? Get your children out of the sun. I know in Australia they've now put shade cloth over all the playgrounds. Children are not allowed outside unless they've got a hat and sunscreen on. And guess what's returning? Rickets is returning. You've also got children, instead of climbing trees and riding bikes and skateboards, they're inside on technology. So that's another contributing factor. And the devitalised food and the sugar. So you've got all of these things coming together. I raised my children in a rainforest. We ate all our own food. They fell out of Tarzan vines, trees. They fell off horses. No broken bones. No. In fact, this break is the first break I've had in my life, except for last year when I broke my little toe. That's the first break that I've had in my life. So obviously it's an illustration that the bones are strong. I didn't give my children cow's milk. I gave them lots of vegetables. We had lots of minerals. And they never had a broken bone. In fact, none. My daughter Jessica jumped over a fence and her scarf got caught and she broke her ankle, but that happened to her when she was about 38. That's an illustration that the bones are strong. So I took my children to the dentist. I think the eldest was 14, the youngest was about 4. And the dentist said, "Your children's teeth astonish me. They're so strong. There's no decay." She said, "One child has a little decay, but it appears it's in a tooth between teeth where the food gets caught." And she said, "What's astonishing is a little bit of decay started, but it stopped because the tooth was so strong." I didn't give my children sugar, but about 3 times a week I would make them a delicious dessert. Children like sweet things, but you can change their tastes and you can train their tastes. We always had dessert after the meal had been eaten. Your eyes need sun. In his book, Better Eyesight Without Glasses, Dr. William Bates, he almost lost his license over writing that book. Very interesting book. And the last chapter of the book gives a summary of everything your eyes need. And what interested me, here's the summary. We need to be breathing fresh air so that our cells are getting oxygen. He said sunshine. Every day we should let our eyes be exposed to the sun. Never should we look at the sun. Our eyes will tell us that. But isn't it nice to look at the early morning and the late afternoon sun? And what Dr. Neil Nedley found is that resets our circadian rhythm.
Dr. Nedley also found that exposure to natural light, especially in the morning, helps regulate melatonin production, improving sleep quality. When our eyes receive sunlight early in the day, it signals to our body that it's time to be awake and alert. This process strengthens our circadian rhythm, ensuring that when night falls, our body naturally produces melatonin to help us sleep. Today, with so many people staring at screens late into the night, their natural sleep-wake cycle gets disrupted, leading to insomnia, fatigue, and even mood disorders. But it's not just about sleep. Sunlight impacts our entire well-being. Sun exposure helps boost serotonin, the feel-good hormone. That's why people often feel happier and more energized after spending time outdoors. Have you ever noticed how after a few days of gloomy weather, you might feel down or sluggish? That's because your body isn't getting enough sunlight to produce the serotonin it needs. Countries with long winters and limited sunlight often see higher rates of seasonal depression, which doctors now treat with light therapy to mimic natural sunlight. Beyond mental health, sunlight also plays a crucial role in immune function. Vitamin D, produced when our skin absorbs UVB rays, is essential for strengthening the immune system. Studies show that people with low vitamin D levels are more susceptible to infections, autoimmune diseases, and even certain cancers. Historically, tuberculosis patients were sent to sanatoriums where they were exposed to fresh air and sunlight, and many recovered simply from being in a sun-rich environment. But today we're told to avoid the sun at all costs. Sunscreens block the very UV rays needed to produce vitamin D, and many people spend most of their day indoors. This fear of the sun has led to widespread vitamin D deficiency, which contributes to a host of modern health issues, including weak bones, chronic fatigue, and a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. So what's the solution? Moderation. We don't need to bake in the sun for hours, but spending 15 to 30 minutes outside daily without sunscreen can work wonders. The best time for sun exposure is mid-morning or late afternoon when UV rays are strong enough to stimulate vitamin D production, but not so harsh as to cause sunburn. If we return to the wisdom of past generations who understood the value of sunlight, fresh air, and natural food, we may find that many modern health problems could be prevented or even reversed. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more science-backed health tips. Stay healthy, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.